politicians, even the public, think that people who encounter the criminal legal system aren't being held accountable enough and therefore need to be sentenced to financial penalties. And that's not true. Even a traffic citation affects people's ability to drive, the cost of their insurance, things like that.
Alexis Harris is a professor of sociology at the University of Washington. She recently wrapped up a 5-year study involving Washington and 7 other states on court-imposed fines and fees for everything from traffic violations to drug possession, and how those fees affect people of color and of lower income.
Some range from smaller amounts to larger amounts. For example, Washington State has one of the highest, what's considered mandatory, victim penalty assessment. That's $500. So the amounts ranged across the jurisdictions that we studied, but they existed, and they caused very similar problems, particularly for people who are too poor to pay.
Harris says her study also found that areas with higher non-white residents had higher debt sentences than others.
And we found actually that tracts that had higher percentages of non-white populations had higher debt sentences for those citizens. And in addition, down the road, those communities had higher rates of poverty, future poverty. So it's not yet a causal analysis, but there is some association between LFO sentencing and poverty in our communities here in Washington.
And the study found that as many people struggle to pay these fees and fines, local municipalities are actually spending more money trying to collect that debt, thus creating bigger deficits for local governments.
There's more costs spent on trying to collect uncollectible debt. A recent study found that in just 14 states nationally, $27 billion is outstanding. Right? This money cannot be collected.
Harris also says that these fines are causing harmful psychological and even physical effects on those who struggle to pay.
And these fees really create an emotional strain for individuals. Many people described anxiety, depression, fear of leaving their home. It was very disturbing to hear people talk about what this debt did to them emotionally.
Some state lawmakers here in Washington are trying to make changes to the fees and the way that they've been typically paid and collected with House Bill 1412 that recently passed the state House and is currently working its way through the state Senate.
So 1412 really eliminates the mandatory nature of the victim penalty assessment. It also establishes a fund for victims across the state. So they're really actually getting the money that they need to move forward in their lives.